why don't we start just by introducing ourselves and where we're from, and then we'll continue around so everybody gets to know who they are. Hi, Kara. So I'll start. I'm Scott, and I'm sitting here on Kauai, and it's an honor to be with everybody today and to be carrying this medicine for the web of life, to do this as my job. Yeah, I love sharing it, and I'm really grateful for everybody who wants to take time out of their day or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and participate with us, because coming back into harmony with the web of life is really important. And for me, the ability to teach shamanism and shamanic healing and energy body work it's really a dream come true for me. I've been doing it for years now, and when I first started, it was something I didn't think was even possible as a career. I thought it was something that I just would do on the side, and now this is happening, and yeah, have lovely people joining us all the time from all over the world. So yeah, it's a real pleasure and an honor. So thank you everybody for being here today. So why don't we go ahead and just go around, whoever would like to go first, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and what your interest is in shamanism and the web of life and experience.
I'll go. We don't just do that. It's you. My name is Robin, and I'm in Chicago. And actually, it's a beautiful day today, so that's awesome. We've had 2 of them, and what can I tell you? I've been a practicing shaman probably for the last 4 or 5 years. And some days it looks normal, and some days my husband thinks I'm a nut. So I think that goes for everyone.
That's great. Fortunately, my wife also practices with me, so it's just our neighbors who think that we're nuts.
That's it. Yes, we all have those that judge us from the outside.
That's right. But you know, it's actually really interesting what I found over the years is that at first, you know, we're in a neighborhood, and it's, you know, you can see the other houses, and everybody, it's an older neighborhood, so everybody kind of gets in each other's business a little bit. And at first there were a lot of like kind of weird glances towards what we were doing. But as we started working with the spirits of the land here, I found that all of a sudden the neighbors who were originally wary or maybe judgmental became extremely friendly. And as we're walking it, hey, how's it going? You know, so and there was never a conscious conversation. There's never a physical world conversation about anything that we were doing, right? There was never any conversation about it. It's just all of a sudden their attitudes began to shift, even though we had no direct interaction. And so that's just something that's part of the way that shamanic work happens, as I'm sure you've experienced. So, yeah.
That's a nice story. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for joining us, Robin. Okay, go ahead, Jody. Why don't you go next?
Hi, I'm Jody. I'm from Australia, so Queensland, Australia, and I work part-time in a government job, and but the rest of my time I do qigong, and I'm always finding myself in the forest, talking to the trees and the animals and bits and pieces. I've never done this work, but it just keeps popping into my sort of awareness, and yeah, I just thought I would join because I know more and more, and I just love the world. And yeah, I just want to, I don't know, just be more, I don't know if I keep, my internet might be a bit unstable, it keeps coming up, sorry if I'm cutting out.
Okay. We got the gist of what you were saying.
Yeah, so I just want to join in because I just I love being a part of everything, and I just, yeah, I don't know, I wasn't sort of expecting to even be on here talking, so I thought I'd just be in the background, so I haven't sort of prepared anything, but yeah, I just really want to know more, and yeah, and see what I can do and to contribute in my part of the world. and yeah, and go from there.
Great, thanks, Jody. And did you have a chance to watch the instructional video on how to journey and go to the lower world and meet your power animal?
I haven't. I'm so sorry. I've had a few things, unexpected things in the last few days that have sort of gobbled up my time, but I definitely will. And I have lots of dreams about animals, and I have lots of animal friends, and all sorts of strange things happen. So I'll definitely get to that this week. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'll go over it before we start. I just want to make sure that because everybody, we're actually gonna journey today, and
Okay.
so I want to make sure that everybody has a way to participate, and so I'll go through that before we actually start with the journey. But we're gonna.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's fine. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Thanks for joining us, Jody, and we'll continue going around, and then I'll talk a little bit and review how we journey to the lower world for anybody who hasn't had a chance to do that yet, and we'll journey. Okay, Sophie, would you like to introduce yourself? But you just need to unmute yourself because we can't hear you.
I say I started journeying, being interested in shamanism during the lockdown last year. And I found out about you because one of my friends is actually one of your students.
Oh, who's that?
Willie?
Oh, great.
Maui?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And are you on, where are you? Are you on Maui as well?
No, I'm in Virginia. I'm in
okay.
America. Yes.
Great.
So it's just curiosity and I have time. And as Jody was saying, I do talk to nature, the tree, the birds, whatever animal come my way, I tend to talk to them. So I feel a deep connection and I would like to deepen, that knowledge in some ways.
Yeah, thanks, Sophie. Thank you so much. And have you journeyed before or had a chance to look at our video?
I haven't looked at your video, but I have journeyed, yes.
Okay, great. That's all we need. It doesn't have to be through my video. You just need to know how to get to the lower world.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Sophie. Thank you. Hi, Caro. Say hi.
Hey.
Nice to see you.
You too. So I'm from Hawaii. Well, from Miami, but I'm talking from Oahu. I did a beginner fundamentals shamanism class, and it was life-changing. And I want to continue it. And I'm a little nervous right now. Yeah, I'm trying to journey, but I don't know. I feel like I've been having some difficulty, so I need to practice more.
Okay, well, you'll journey today, and thanks so much for taking the time to join us. Nice to see you. It's been a couple of months.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Carolyn. And Isabel.
Okay, hello, Scott. I'm from Mexico. I'm French, but I'm from Mexico. So I'm a shamanic student from now. I've been maybe 2-3 years. And I was very interested in this opportunity to be a part of general healing. So I'm very willing to do this.
Great, thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Hi, Vitor. How are you?
Here it's good evening. So for you, I know it's good afternoon.
Yeah, good evening, good night. Good. Yeah. It's what, 2 o'clock at night in Portugal?
I am speaking from Portugal, yes. Very near the capital, Lisbon. Here is 10 in the evening, 10 p.m. Here's 10 p.m. It's a little bit chilly. That's why I'm so, with all the jacket and everything, it's a little bit chilly. I'm very, very good. I've seen the video from the journey. I've done the journey several times before and did it after. I already knew my power animal, and it's always a pleasure to be in his presence, to go to him, to talk with him, He always has something nice to, a good message, or a nice message always to give. So here I am for several reasons. One, finally, I had the time and the available time to be in one of your circles again, and soon we'll be in the training all together.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Vitor. And Vitor was supposed to be here last April for our workshop on Kauai, along with Carolyn, who had to postpone as well. Carolyn made it here in December. Vitor's still in Portugal. He's not able to come, so he's going to be doing our online training that starts at the end of this month.
But I will go.
Yeah,
No
you will eventually make it to Kauai. That's right. So yeah, thanks for joining us. And Cheryl, would you like to say hi?
Hi, everybody. This is my first time. I'm just trying to learn a little bit about it. I too wanted to go to Kauai, but it hopefully will happen sometime for me to take the course. And I have a lot to learn, so I'm in the very beginning of learning about this. So.
And where are you joining us from today?
Oh, Canada, Calgary.
Oh, great. And have you journeyed to the lower world before and watched our video, or?
I watched the video. I don't think I was successful, but I did give it a try. I've only tried once, so.
Right. Yeah. So but you know the basic procedure. We'll review that again anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Hi, Gillian. Nice to see you again. Can you just unmute yourself so we can hear you?
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm a bit late. Just busy doing the morning stuff. This is 9 o'clock in the morning in Australia, so. Oh.
No worries. No worries at all. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
Yeah. And you're down in Victoria, is that right?
No, I'm in New South Wales in the mountains, in the snowy mountains.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have Ronald who's joining us from Melbourne, and we have Jody who's joining us from the Sunshine Coast. So we got 3 Aussies on the call today, which is great. Hi, Ronald. Nice to see you. You just unmute yourself. Can you unmute? Yeah, there you go.
How are you, Scott? How are things?
Great. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it is. It's good to be on the call again.
So just introduce yourself to everybody so they know a little bit about who you are, who's sitting in the circle with us. And
yeah, I did the intensive in 2019, September. So it was pre-COVID. And I have an interest in shamanic, but I came across something the other day that I'd like to share. For a long time, there's been a block in my development. And just the other day, I was watching a video from Cryon, and he goes through the 4 faces of fear. And one of those really struck a chord, and that was the fear of enlightenment. And I know one past life where I wasn't persecuted. I wasn't killed for being a medicine woman, but my daughter was killed, and that took the life out of me. I just did nothing for the rest of my life. It was such a loss. But that wasn't the main. When that happens to you, your soul doesn't want to come out again because it's scared of being persecuted, and a lot of us fall into that category. But I think that I had a lifetime as a shaman, and that one caused me to shut down. So that's going to be interesting. You know, that's only in the last 48 hours that sort of intuitive feeling come through. So that's going to be interesting, really interesting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's actually a really important thing that you bring to the consciousness. I deal with it a lot in the workshops, in healing sessions. It's common where there is this fear of persecution. whether it's from a past life. I've worked with people who have had in past life trauma of being burned at the stake, right? But in general, you know, if you look back for millennia, there's been persecution of the ways of the earth. Medicine of the earth has been persecuted. And that's been going on for thousands of years. And the ways of the earth, right alignment to the earth, that's been persecuted. And it's been done to justify this kind of patriarchal view that man was given dominion over all things by God, right? And therefore has the right to take as much as he wants, right? Without any respect to future generations. Now, not all cultures live that way. However, a lot of imperial and missionary cultures live that way and use that as a means to justify the abuse of and enslavement of and conquering of cultures that were colonized. So that's a big burden, and we work on that extensively. I've done a lot of work on that individually and in session work and globally in terms of the global agreements, or what I call the global parasites that justify that, approaching it from different angles. So I think as you free yourself from that, and you're going to want to ask, what is it that I can remove to remove this from me and step into my true path here now in this life? You don't even really have to worry too much about previous lives. You'll find that you can really step much more firmly into your power and in a much more grounded way. What you can embody it without the fear of persecution. Now today, people usually aren't burned at the stake in most societies, but as we were talking about earlier, what do our neighbors think? Or my husband thinks I'm crazy, or right, that kind of thing. So that's another, it's not a persecution per se, but it is a little bit of an ostracizing. So one of the things that I am really passionate about is normalizing shamanic consciousness, where it doesn't become this big deal, right? It's sort of like, of course I talk to the birds. Of course I talk to the spirits of the land and honor the spirits of the land. That's normal. And I also pay my bills and am a functional member of ordinary reality society, right? So whether that's your government job or your corporate job or your job teaching shamanism or your job in the medical profession or whatever that is, right? It's not only possible, but it's important to have both, because that's how we normalize it. And I'll relate a little story that those of you who have been in Hawaii will especially laugh at. One day I was walking down to one of the local beaches, and we have these birds here called shama. They're a type of finch, and they're extremely talkative, and they're very good mimickers. So if they go like, and you go, you will soon be having a conversation with this bird, right? And then it will, if you miss your part of the call and response, they'll kind of say it to you again, like you didn't get it, you're saying it wrong. They're trying to teach you the language. They're really amazing birds. They're really fun. They're really fun to converse with. And so I was doing this on this trail down to the beach, and I'm having this really wonderful conversation with this bird for I don't know how many minutes, but I was kind of lost in it. And all of a sudden this dude comes walking down the beach, and he's kind of like this tough local surfer bra. And he's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Talking to the birds," you know, but doing it in a really aggressive, antagonistic way, right? And so I receive that, and I just go, of course, don't you talk to nature? You gotta talk to nature. That's how you stay safe. And he's like, "Oh yeah, bro, you gotta be in touch with the Aina. That's right." Right. And then so it was like this normalization of, once we ground that, right? Because he was coming with a very intense, I won't say violent, because he wasn't threatening me, but the energy was aggressive, and it had an undertone of violence and aggression to it, and territorialness. And by grounding that and going, yeah, of course, this is normal, he responded in like immediately did a 180, flipped the way he was relating to me, and then proceeded to tell me his life story and all his problems. You know, at which point I was like, hey, let's keep going down to the beach. And then I'm like, and then he invited me. He's like, that wave over there, that's the best left in the world, man. Anytime you want to surf out there on my break, you're welcome to surf with me, which is like apparently some status thing, right? And so, but it shows you that if we can maintain our groundedness within this normalization of shamanic consciousness, people respond very differently than if I was like, oh, then that aggression would still be coming. And so this is part of that releasing of the ancestral generational trauma of persecution, whether it was past life or just a memory that was passed down from great-great-grandparents who were persecuted, or if our great-great-great-great-grandparents were part of the persecutors, right? That vibration still carries down because it resonates on both aspects of the polarity. We carry both aspects of that polarity within us, no matter what culture we come from. And so that's just part of what we are here to heal at this time in the world. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Ronald.
Thank you, Scott. That is incredibly healing for me. It really, yeah, I will assimilate that, ingest that and assimilate that over the next few days. But it very, very sound advice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Ronald, for sharing that with everybody. Okay, so the last few meetings, we've been looking at more global types of energies in the healing for the web. So similar to what we were just discussing with Ronald here. This time, what I'd like to do is bring it more local and microcosmic. So as I was trying to share, we have these global agreements that kind of they're outside of us and they come down from above, and they can be societal or global or just in our family, but they're imposed externally onto us. We also have these internal agreements that are within us and how we walk within the world. And just as we look at these global, what I might call more upper world type forces, we also work with these local forces here in the creation. So we have Creator, that is the source of all blessings, the source of all creation. And then we have the creation itself and the aspect of God or Creator that is within that creation. So whether it's that finch, that shama that I'm talking to, or that plant or that animal that you're talking to, or just picking up some of the earth, some of the soil in your hands and looking at all the microorganisms and the little ants, it's all part of the creation, the plants, the animals, right? So as we come to a more localized level, one of the most important things that we can do is work with the spirits of the land where we are, right? So where we are here. So whether you're sitting in Australia or Chicago or Oahu or Portugal or Canada or Virginia, okay, or Mexico, what we're going to do today in our journey is we're going to journey to the lower world. And after we meet our power animal, we're going to ask our power animal to introduce us to the spirits of the land where we are, and to connect with the spirits of the land there. And first, say thank you for allowing us to be here, and ask permission. Can I be here? Can I live on this land? May I have permission to live here in harmony with the spirits of this land? And then to ask for any kind of guidance and healing about how I personally can live in right relationship with this land, with the web of life where I am, as well as any broader, more global types of information or healing that can be brought back. So first, we're just going to ask permission to be here, give thanks for being here, express, I want to live in right relationships with the spirits of the land here at where I live, in my home, wherever that is in the world for you. Then we're going to ask, how can I be better in right relationship with the land? What can I do? Give me some actions, some concrete physical actions to do, short ones. We don't want to be overwhelmed. Okay, just little things, or maybe big things you'll get. And then once we've gotten that, if we have any other guidance, any more global guidance that we're meant to bring back and share with the group. Okay, so is that clear for everybody as far as the intention of what we're going to journey on? Yeah. Okay, and now for those of you who have not journeyed to the lower world before, this is going to be a very quick overview of what we do. Okay, so the first thing is I want you to pick a place in nature that you have been physically in ordinary reality, a place you've actually visited. And that's going to be your starting point. And it should be a place for going to the lower world. It should be a place which has a feeling of going down, whether it's a cave, a tunnel, a splash pool of a waterfall, a pond, or an ocean, anything that feels like it's an opening going downwards. So just take a moment right now for those of you who have not yet journeyed and find a starting point. Okay. And when you have a starting point, just raise your hand and let me know that you do. Okay. Does anybody not have a starting point? Not yet? Okay. Okay, how about now? Does everybody have a starting point now, or is anybody needing more time? Okay, everybody has a starting point? Okay, so what we're going to do is when the drumming starts, you're going to use your mind's eye and your imagination to place yourself at your starting point. And you're going to look for a tube or a tunnel that goes down to the lower world. Now, when I say look for, it's not always visual. Okay, some of us are very visual. Some of us are more auditory or kinesthetic. And so you might feel or sense or hear, I'm going down. You might just sense you're going down. You might just feel you're going down. So trust that. If in general you're a visually oriented person, most likely you will see a lot of visual things within your journeys. If you are not a visually oriented person, most likely you will have to identify another way in which you're receiving the information from the spirit world, which is, I feel like I'm going down. I sense I'm going down. Okay, so just trust that. So you'll hear the drumming start. Well, you're going to put yourself at your starting point. You're going to hear the drumming start. You're going to sense a tunnel, and you're going to go down through that opening, through that tube or tunnel, down, 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 down. And you're going to continue going down. And once you go out of the tunnel, you're going to ask, am I in the lower world? And if you get a yes, then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to ask to meet your power animal. Ask for your power animal to come meet you. Okay. If you get a no, you just ask, can I please take me to the lower world? I need to get to the lower world to meet my power animal. Okay. So you repeat that until you meet your power animal. Once you've met your power animal, well, once you get out and you're in the lower world and you know that you're in the lower world, then you ask whatever appears. You call out, will my power animal please come meet me? When something comes, you ask, you verify, are you my power animal? If the answer is yes, then great. If the answer is no, you ask what appears. Please take me to my power animal. I need to meet my power animal. Can you please direct me to my power animal or take me to my power animal? So again, you repeat that process until you meet with your power animal. And once you've met your power animal, and now this is for everybody who's already done journey work before and knows how to meet their power animal, it's going to be a lot faster when you've done it. Just like driving a car, the first time you ever drove a car, you had to think about it. You're like, okay, I got to put the key in the ignition, I got to turn it, I got to put on the seatbelt, right? So that's maybe your first time journeying. You're already thinking, oh my God, am I going to remember all this stuff? But don't worry, it gets actually quite easy, just like getting in your car. You don't even think about it, right? Nobody does. You just turn and you're going, oh yeah, my seatbelt. So once you've met your power animal, okay, then you're going to ask your power animal to take you to the spirits of the land where you are, the guardian spirits of the land. And then you're going to go ahead and ask the questions that we spoke about earlier, which is, first, thank you for letting me be here. I ask permission to be here and live here on this land. Please give me instructions about how best to care for this land. And then what can I do to help bring this land back into harmony with the web of life, or bring human habitation on this land into harmony with the web of life, would be a better way to say that. And then if you are given more global things, that's great as well. For those of you who are just journeying for the first time, this is a great way to do a first journey, being in connection with the spirits of the land where you are. If your power animal says something else, like, oh, hey, we've just got to do a little healing work on you first, let that occur. So in shamanic journey work, we let the spirits, the helping spirits, the power animals, be the guides and the teachers. Okay, I'm just a facilitator to help you to get there, but the actual authority is with the power animals, with Creator, with Mother Earth. Okay, so that's very important when we talk about, just looping back to what we talked about earlier, not having a hierarchy. There's no persecution, there's no dominance or patriarchy. Everybody has their own direct connection to the spirit world. So my job is to help facilitate that direct connection for you and to help give you the confidence to receive that information and really ground that information into day-to-day ordinary reality. So when you have that connection to the spirit world, you want to ground that in day by day into your ordinary reality life. So that's really where we go with this work. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? No. Okay. So, and it's helpful to lay down. If you want to put a covering on your eyes, you're welcome to do that. It can help the journey. And we're going to go ahead and start. Oh, one more thing for the people who haven't journeyed yet. There's a specific journey beat. So when we're journeying, the drum is going to sound like this. And then when it's time to go back, I'm going to go. Okay, that's a signal to finish up what you're doing down there in the lower world. Okay, and then you're going to hear a faster beat. And when you hear that faster beat, I want you to reverse the directions of your journey. Go back to the bottom of your tunnel, go back up the tunnel, and come back into your body. And then I'll give this grounding. To ground back into your body. So I'm probably not going to talk at all during the journey. So just make sure you remember those drum cues, okay? All right, here we go. Okay, so for those of you who are still journaling, please feel free to continue. For everybody else, we're going to start sharing what we were shown within the journey. So who would like to share first? Would anybody like to share first? Okay, yeah, go ahead, Cheryl.
Okay. Now, I don't know how much is my imagination or how much is really what it's hard to know. But what I seen, I went down into my pond, and when I got there, I asked for my spirit animal, and it was a deer came. And I asked what, I could do to live in harmony, and if I could live in harmony in my where I live. And I got on his back, and I felt just love. We got to a lake, and I got off his back, and we sat there. And he didn't appear to be, he or she, my spirit animal, didn't appear to be saying anything to me. And so I asked again, what can I do to help live in harmony? And then out of the corner of my eye, I seen something almost brownish, dirty looking going into the lake. And so my thought was, keep our lakes clean. And he kind of nodded, and then nothing. We just sat there, and I just felt love and nothing else. And then a picture in my mind was fertilizing the lawn. And and also what I'm using in my washing machine. So that's what came to me. How much of that is my imagination or my spirit animal? Because he didn't really appear, I didn't hear any talking. It was just a sense. Does that make any sense?
It makes 100% sense.
Okay.
And that's what I was trying to express and articulate earlier, that we don't always see, sometimes we see pictures, sometimes we hear words, sometimes we just get a feeling, sometimes we get a knowing or a sense of.
Okay.
And it makes a lot of sense, if you're asking, if you're shown the pond, and then you get the idea of caring for the water, and the water, remember, is the lifeblood of the land and the earth itself, right? So there's all this water that we don't see that is in the water table underneath, and it keeps flowing and moving. And so what we put on the earth eventually does percolate down into the water table. And then you're shown fertilizing on the lawn, potentially using a fertilizer that is harmful. And then you're also shown laundry liquid, which is also a known, a fairly well-known source of pollution. So yeah, those are some big sources, and that's a beautiful thing that you're shown, because it's showing what you can do locally to make a difference.
Okay. And is the deer significant?
The deer would be your power animal.
But the first time I did it, I sensed a fox. So
yeah, you can work with multiple power animals for different things.
Okay.
And that we do that in our training. We learn to work with at least 10 different animal medicines. That's what we do in our intermediate training.
Okay.
And each one is, remember, your relationship with deer might be different than my relationship with deer, might be different than Caro's relationship with deer, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So that's important to understand, that we each have our own relationships to these spirit animals, or rather they have different teachings and for us, and different guidance and protection for us. And so just like you can have a relationship with multiple friends, you can have a relationship with multiple animals and animal spirits. Yeah,
so we don't have one. We can have many.
We would hope that we have many.
Okay.
We would hope that we have relationships with the animal spirits, all of them.
Okay.
Right. And it's what we cultivate. And depending on where you are, you said you're in Canada. I would reckon you have deer and fox in your region.
Yes.
So it would be relatively normal or common for those animals to come to you rather than, say, giraffe. Now,
Correct.
sometimes people do get giraffes or zebras or something, but usually it's something that it's usually an animal that we have direct experience with up until a certain point. Then we sometimes get other spirits, that animal spirits that come in. But usually it's the first time that I started working with deer, it came to me and it told me of a time where I had saved a deer. And I said, well, why did you choose to be my power animal or to work with me in this animal medicine? And the deer said, well, don't you remember that time when you saw a deer about to get shot and you jumped down to scare that deer away so it wouldn't get shot? And I'm like, I'd totally forgotten that, but I had done that. Like I was cross country skiing in the backcountry of Arizona, and there were people spotting a deer. You're not really supposed to shoot deer when you're sitting in your truck. It's not actually the right way to hunt. But they were. and they had the scope and the high powered weapon, like the long range weapon. So I saw that and I saw him like lining up the shot, and I just pretended to trip, and I like went flying forward and made this big noise, and the deer ran away. Because I wasn't gonna like go, hey, but these guys who had guns out there. But it wasn't really fair. You're not supposed to sit on sit on your truck and shoot them. That's not cool. Yeah. So then the deer came to me as a in the spirit world, and has taught me and helped me in a lot of ways, and also helped me when I work in session work. So usually we have a direct experience with an animal medicine at some point before it comes with us. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks for sharing that. I also, just because of what you mentioned in your journey, I actually want to share a little bit about what my journey was. I was shown something really interesting. What I was shown, I was taken to the spirit of the land here on Kauai, and she told me that what we're doing today is actually, it's a very simple act, but it's actually an incredibly radical act for the world that we live in. That if we look around modern society, most people do not relate to the spirit of the land where they are at all. They don't even think about it. Like if you go and you talk to your neighbor, hey, you should talk to the spirit of the land about that before you build that right there. You will probably get some funny looks at the minimum. Okay. So what I was shown is that this very simple act of bringing to consciousness, bringing people back into consciousness and connection with the spirit of the land can have a huge change on humanity's relationship with the web of life. Just imagine, instead of being one out of maybe 10,000 people in your area who connect with the spirit of the land, if one out of every 10 people connected with the spirit of the land, how different would they be in terms of what they planted in their yard, how they tended their yard, how they went about their, the products that they consumed? Everything would be different, right? So much more so than it actually would probably make a bigger influence connecting people with the spirit of the land than multi-billion-dollar ad campaigns on recycling or any environmental movement, because that's coming strictly from the mental aspect. And it's so easy for people to mentalize it and go, yeah, but I'm busy, right? But taking that time out in the morning and maybe just taking 30 seconds to offer some offering to the spirit of the land at your home and giving gratitude for being there without doing anything other than that, just making a little offering. I do this every morning. I make a tobacco offering in my backyard, and I say to the spirits of the land, thank you for allowing me to be the caretaker of this land. And that's it. It takes 30 seconds. It's not a big deal. Please protect me and my family. Help me live in right relationship. That's it. But it's that little reminder constantly every day that happens. And imagine how different the world would be if one out of every 10 people did that in their life. It would really change the way we as humans relate to the land and the web of life. So these very simple acts could then really move through our ways of being and affect our other choices. So that's some of the choices you were talking about the lawn fertilizer and laundry liquid. Those are simple choices that don't take a lot to change, but could have a huge impact if adopted broadly. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Cheryl. Okay, who'd like to share next? Go ahead, Ronald.
There we go. Yeah. Continuing on from that sort of healing, facing the fears of enlightenment. As I went down, I got a black and white image of an American native Indian village. And black and white is significant because it sort of meant that they were showing me things, but they were not giving me full detail. So it's stuff that I've got to revisit and work on. And the animal that was present was an eagle flying overhead. And the feeling I got from that was that we've got an eye on you. You know, the experiences that you're actually going through. You may think that you're disconnected, that you're, you know, that you've been abandoned and all those sorts of things. We've got an eye on you and it'll be okay. And the black and white, the whole feeling of the thing was, here's an introduction to the event that took place that derailed me. And it will unfold in its own time. And speaking of that, the healing that I got when I was in Hawaii, the session I did with Jack there, she said, you know, you'll integrate this and then you may assimilate that. That could take a couple of years. Well, in January, I did a training course, a healing course, and one piece of the jigsaw puzzle that just blew me away came through in a very peaceful, beautiful, beautiful way. So, you know, these healing processes of the individual are very deep and very, they're peaceful. You know, they showed me a black and white Indian village because it's not yet time to go into any more detail than that. I've got to sit with that for a while, do some more meditations and find out more detail on what happened, or just accept and move forward and say, yeah, okay, that was where it was. That was where the block came from. Let's move forward and clear it. But you don't need gruesome detail. You just need to energy match. And then it'll
That's
clear.
right. You don't need, sometimes we don't need the detail. Sometimes the detail isn't actually helpful.
Yeah. So it was very good. It was what I needed.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks. And as we were at the end of the journey, it's interesting because I was shown at the very end that the next time I do this journey as a group, and to also mention to everybody as a group, that you can do a follow-up journey and ask your power animal to heal, for a healing of anything that is interfering with your ability to connect with the spirit of the land. And walk in right relationship with that. So it's funny because that's exactly what you did, that you just received that journey.
Yes.
That I was like, oh yeah, that I forgot to mention that to everybody, to ask their power animal to remove anything that's preventing me from really connecting with the spirit of the land here. So yeah, great. Thanks, Ronald. I love the way journey work kind of has all the synchronicities.
I need to go because I'm actually working. So thanks, Scott.
Yeah, thanks, Ronald. Get back to work, man.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye. Okay, who'd like to share next? Does anybody have a commitment that, yeah, go ahead, Carol. Just unmute yourself. There you
go. Okay. So, for some reason I landed in mud. Like covered in mud. It was a little traumatizing and shocking, but I think it's because I've been going through some stuff and it was a bit detox. But yeah, so I called my condor and he came circling around me. He was really excited to see me. And I asked him to take me to the spirits of the land, and for some reason I saw mountains, and then he started circling around a tiki pole. And I asked them, how can I connect with the land? How can I live in harmony? And they said, keep on doing what you're doing. I light an incense every morning for my spirit guides and everybody that's helping me through life. And when I go to the beach, I pick up trash when I see trash. And then when I surf, I thank the ocean.
Great.
And then when I go on hikes, I hug trees, and I talk to my friends about shamanism. They don't really know what it is, but I educate them a little bit.
That's great. That's great. That's part of spreading this shamanic consciousness and normalizing it. Right? The more that we can spread out, and that's also what I was shown in my journey, is it's like one little droplet might be me or you or anybody else in this call spreading out a vibration, but all of a sudden now there's 10 or 11 people who are doing this journey on this call. That's 11 little droplets in the water spreading out ripples, and more and more and more, all of a sudden it starts to drizzle and rain, and now we have many, many people spreading that. Very quickly, that can multiply exponentially. And so, yeah, thank you for doing that and for spreading that awareness. And yep, it
My
ties
friend
into.
thought I was crazy hugging trees, and then they started hugging trees with me. So
Oh, that's wonderful, right? And that ties into what we were talking about in the beginning before we journeyed with Ronald about the fear of persecution or judgment. And then all of a sudden, when we really stand in our grounding and are like, of course I hug a tree. Why wouldn't you hug a tree? Right?
It's living.
Exactly. And try it. Have you ever done it? And so that's beautiful. And that's it. There's little actions day by day. A lot of times we think, oh, these problems are so huge, we need to take these dramatic changes, but actually it's these little changes, these little incremental changes that cause the dramatic shifts over time. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, who else would like to share? Who'd like to share next? Go ahead, Gillian. And then we'll go to Vidya afterwards.
Okay. I've been working in the national park in the fire ground, and so I've been working with these little creatures called barramies or mountain pygmy possums, and they live in boulder fields, and the boulder fields are quite deep, and there's streams below them. So I decided that was my way into the underworld, and it's been very confronting for months, going out into the fire ground and working and watching the recovery. And we're at altitude and it's really slow, and I've done a lot of shamanic study, and it was no surprise that wallabies and lyrebirds came up, and the lyrebird in particular. And I think it's an even known fact that the lyrebird helps stop fires and recover from fires because of their nature of their digging. And they have in the animal dreaming sort of knowledge of what they're about. It's DNA and it's genetic memory. So they're a really important part of the recovery. So when I went down into the underworld, the lyrebird was there. It was symbolic, of course, of their lyre. They've got a big, beautiful tail, like a peacock, I suppose, if you don't know what a lyrebird looks like, but brown and the lovely colours of the bush. And they can mimic anything. So they have this amazing ancient sort of memory of what things were like. So not only do I feel like I've talked to that power animal and that it's helping already and it's going to help, but I feel like I'm connecting to my ancestral links, and my links to the mountains are really strong, and it's long term. So with my study from medicine woman in New Zealand, I've learnt what's called karakiyas. They're prayers. So there's a mountain prayer. There's a prayer for the plants and stuff like that. And I was told to keep doing that out in the mountains, go to those places that are special to me and keep chanting that karakiya. And then in the journey, I saw all this light coming down as I asked for sort of help. It was like the aurora. So not like as spectacular as the Northern Lights or anything, but this aurora, there's like this flooding of different colored lights coming in, and then a slight symbol of a butterfly, is like butterflies are new birth, and then snake came in, and then I started to think about it after the journey, because I believe that sometimes you're not going to get everything in the journey. Sometimes after the journey you realize that things have been going on in your life to show you stuff. So last week I had 3 days in a row snake encounters, and I went, the snake's part of it as well. The snake, I need to really look at that and what that's about. And I just looked it up in my book. You know, I also, you can't just go with what someone else's interpretations are, but they're pretty aligned to what I feel anyway. And there's a huge grief. There's a huge grief over the Black Summer fires from last year. And the one that I'm working on, the Duns Road fires, was a big one. And this huge, the fire traveled at 30 kilometers a day, and the forests out there are devastated. So there's, every time that us workers go out there, and I was out there last Thursday, I was really feeling it from some of the other conservation officers who allowed us to go out and work with the pygmy possums and stuff. And I thought, this grief needs healing before we can lift and recover. So the snake has something to do with that, the transmutation of that into the energy needed to heal. So really quite profound. And it was great to follow it, because the other day I was actually physically working with the pygmy possums, letting them go and watching them go down through the boulder field and follow them down into the underworld. That was just a wonderful entrance. You know, where do you go, guys? You know, I'll go with you. And then, yeah, so I felt that was really good, and made a bit of a commitment to keep chanting that prayer, that karakia, out in the mountains, in my special places.
Yeah, thank you, Gillian. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, it's really important to bring the spirit back to the land. And snake's an important part of the web of life. When we talk about that in our intermediate training, we do a lot about shedding the skin and rebirth, right? So snake is a lot about rebirth and shedding the skin. As you said, it's, everybody has their own relationship with each animal medicine. So that may or may not be why the snake's been showing up for you, but it's a lot about shedding the skin and rebirth. It's also around, we use snake a lot of times. Well, there's the rainbow serpent, the creation energy, but also the turning around any kind of negative energy, whether it's directed to us personally or just in general, humanity's imbalance with the web of life, turning that around and putting things back in right relationship.
I thought that about the negative energy we can be putting upon that fire ground too, because it's like and a lot of people said that it's like the burn was like a rebirth or a big cleansing. But yeah, the recovery, of course, at altitude is very slow. So yeah,
that's right. I mean, you'll see it for years and years, but it will regenerate over time. There's one other thing I want to mention too, is that sometimes we work on specific locations as well with our Healing for the Web journeys. So if you want to email me some information about that particular location of the fire ground with photos of what it was like before, what's happened. A few years ago we did, I guess it was a year and a half ago, we did some journey on the Australia fires in general, but not any specific location. So yeah, please feel free to email that to me, and then maybe we can all work on it together as a group sometime from a distance, and then monitor what happens. We were doing that with some locations here on Kauai before that were under stress. So, yeah, thanks, Gillian. Okay. I understand you have to go, Estelle. Thanks for joining and sitting in. We'll see you next time, and hopefully you can join us for some of our other online classes as well.
I hope to. Thank you very much. Enjoy the time.
Thank you.
Meet somewhere. Bye.
Bye. Hi, Victor. Why don't you go ahead?
So I had an amazing journey. A lot of, we can say, insights in a way. because the things didn't happen as they normally do. So I went down my tunnel, and as soon as I entered the bottom world, I was greeted by my power animal. But he is very joyful. He's a white tiger, big white tiger, and he loves to play, but he wasn't there to play at the moment. He was sitting down, so I felt the need to kneel. So I kneel myself and put my forehead on the floor. So the tiger, it puts his paw right on my head. So I feel the need to lie down on my belly, completely flat on the floor. So I stayed there for a while. Only after that, I can raise up, and then he's very happy to see me, then starts to play with me. He does that all the time. He does that all the time. He loves to play. And when we're on this process, he's playing with me, there's a snake that also comes. She started to go around my spine. I start feeling I had a few pains on my back. So when I start feeling this pain, the snake starts walking around my back. And then she goes to the front and comes to my solar plexus, to my stomach. So she comes to this area. And then I suddenly start to see an Indian dancing, but he's dancing real dancing, really strong, really fast, really in a very powerful way. And while he's dancing, I start to see also other Indians around him. That's where I see myself getting small, like a baby, with my parents behind me and all my ancestral lineage behind me. And then I make the question, what can I do to help this land? What can I do? What is my part? And then I feel that it's your divine right to abundance. It's your divine right to abundance. And when I start to feel the energy coming from the ancestors, the landscape around me starts to change into gold. That's it. Then I had to come back. You called us back.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a little bit more to follow up on too. That's a really visual journey. So yeah, some more to follow up there, and you can ask for more details. You can ask for some more details too.
I go to bed now. When I go to bed now, I will ask.
Right. Or tomorrow when you're, I know it's nighttime there. It's about 11:30 or something. So it's time for you to get some rest. But
yeah, almost 11:30, almost.
Whatever your lifestyle is, you can do it tonight or tomorrow, whatever it is fitting. It's important though when we do journey work that we have the right energy for it. So we don't want to do it when we're too tired. It's better to just wait until we have the right energy to apply ourselves. So thanks for sharing that, Fitter. Thanks. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks online.
See you soon.
Yep. Aloha. Okay, who'd like to share next? Got a couple of more people, I think. Sophie, Robin, and Jody haven't shared yet. Go ahead, somebody jump in.
Yeah, I can share. This was different for me in the sense that usually I am very visual, but my power animal was a beetle, and the land, when I asked what land am I on, it's really bloody and red. It's actually all filled with blood. And the beetle just says it need to take things in small bites. There's a lot of gentleness and kindness to these small bites. And it's usually I do see lots of things, and instead this was just dark, yellowish black background all the time. Yeah, it wasn't the best place to be.
It was a beetle under the ground, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Take things in small bites. That's a pretty...
Take things in small bites.
Pretty wise. You're also in an urban area in Chicago, so it's going to be a little bit, can be a little bit different than working with the land in a place that's less developed, let's just say.
I have no doubt this is very bloody land.
Yeah. So yeah, it can, you know, be a little bit confronting to see what we take for granted every day. But that being said, even in an urban and developed area, what I found is by finding the one tree that's planted in between the sidewalk and just giving a little offering to that tree, we still have that connection. And, you know, I grew up in Manhattan in New York City. And when I go back to visit my parents, sometimes I'm doing my practices out there, my energy body, my Qigong practices, and I have to go about 100 feet down to really get to what I can get to when I'm just barefoot on the sand here on Kauai. And what's very different about my practice there is that here I usually have quite an expansive practice where the horizontal expansion of my energy body is about the same as my vertical expansion, right? So it will be, you know, 3 meters on either side and 2 meters up, 2 meters down. So you have this nice little, you know, ball with a 3 meter diameter. It doesn't work in Manhattan. Nobody gives you 3 meters of space. Even with social distancing, it's not happening, okay? So there, I'm like in a little tube, and I keep my energy body in, you know, maybe it's a foot away from me, but it's a column, so it goes way up high and also way down low. And so when I'm doing the exercises that are usually quite round and like a globe or a ball, it ends up becoming more of a column. And that column goes very far down, just like those skyscrapers that are behind you. They have to have a very deep foundation in order to survive that type of height. It's the same thing with us. We have to have a very deep foundation in the grounding if we're going to really go up into the upper world and expand upwards towards Creator in that way. So yeah, there's definitely some things to work with there, even if it might not be the most pleasant initial journey with that. So thanks, Robin. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And Jody?
Hi, that was really lovely. Thank you. It's so nice to be here because I didn't realize so much of my time that's spent in the forest. I'm not aware of what I'm doing in there. I sort of spend so many hours in there just sort of going because I'm always called there. And I didn't realize a lot of stuff has been going on until I've heard everyone start to speak, that this has actually been going on for me. And I never actually knew what it was. So today when I went down, I actually was taken, I think by, is it a skink?
Yeah. The little, like a lizard that looks like, it's a snake that looks like a lizard, about this big and skinny and black.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it wasn't black, it was like a light brown with some lines or something. I'm not quite sure. The colors were sort of different than what I'd seen before. And we went down, but then I was met with this frog that wasn't green, but it wasn't brown. And there was a conversation, I have no idea what it was between us, but he was quite sort of discerning, not grumpy, but kind of like that he wasn't the actual spirit animal or anything like that. And beyond that, when I got through that, there was no more visuals. It was sort of just color. And I was in my body here, but in my awareness there, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And my awareness was actually spun round, like it was a weird sensation because I haven't had it turn like that. Like I could see everything, but there was nothing there except space and this sort of color orange. And then I just burst into laughter and to tears at the same time. It was just like love. And so nothing much happened beyond that. I started to come back up, and so I think I popped up before, was taken back up and popped up and out just before the drumming had started to change. Mm-hmm. And it just, when I came back up, it was like it was different. So the word acceptance came in, and it was like, it's different between been down there and up the top. So it's like there's an acceptance, and it was sort of with the trees of maybe not wanting people to be there.
Not
It-
wanting people to be where?
In the forest where I was. So it was like an acceptance. So it's different between underneath and on the land.
Mhm.
So acceptance of people there.
Right.
There's a difference thing.
Right. And were you able to ask for the permission to be there? And
I got that, and they said yes.
Good.
Down there, but there was no animal when I got into the beyond the frog. It
Yeah.
was, I'm not quite sure, it was love, and it was a yes, and it was color. I couldn't see anything and I didn't meet an animal, but there was awareness of something that was there. And then I popped back up and it was like acceptance. It was almost like the trees weren't quite sure if they were accepting the people to be there.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Yeah.
So it was a difference between the bottom and the top.
Right. So yeah, the trees have seen more what's happening on the surface than down below. But
Yeah,
you got the permission to be there, which is what's, you know, that's the one of the main purposes, is to have that permission and to work with that. So I encourage everybody to, you know, really day by day, it doesn't have to be an offering, but just express some form of gratitude for being allowed on the land. You know, thank you for letting me be a caretaker of this land and to walk on this land and to continue your relationship with the spirits of the land. And just specifically for you, Jody, as far as not yet seeing an animal, that can be quite common in a first or second journey, is to see just a little bit and not be shown the whole picture. So especially if you appear to be very visual, you have quite a lot of images. So that amount of information can become overwhelming. And so we do get kind of ejected and pop back up when for our own protection, okay, when we've reached the amount that we can integrate and assimilate in one journey. And then it's just a matter of letting that settle in and then maybe trying again tomorrow or the next day, whenever you have time. I'll send you a link. I'm sure I have your email, or you can shoot me an email and just remind me, and I'll send you the link to our How to Journey video, page that also has the drum track, and you can listen to the drumming track, and it has a little bit more detail about how to journey. And then you can go back and try to meet your power animal again, ask for some more detail, and just continue working on it. And so I encourage everybody who doesn't yet have a regular journey work practice to continue on a regular basis, whatever fits in your life. It doesn't have to be daily or weekly, just a schedule that works for you to strengthen those connections that you have with your power animal, with the spirits of the land where you are, and also to bring that into ordinary reality by taking a moment to have gratitude for the spirits of the land and having the permission to live here on the land and be provided for by the land. Kind of what Vitor was saying of the abundance that comes to us on the land, right? The land is what provides all of our nourishment. So yeah, so thank you everybody for being here. Yeah, go ahead, Jody.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you. And yeah, it did just trigger a memory. It did say something about more and dream. So I think there'll be something maybe, yeah, something coming maybe in a dream. I don't know. It was.
Right. Well, the dream space and the shamanic space is very similar. And so the most similar form of consciousness to shamanic consciousness is lucid dreaming. And so I don't know if you've had a lucid dream or if you lucid dream. A lot of people who gravitate towards shamanism do lucid dream on occasion, or more than on occasion, if that might be you. Yeah, almost all the time. Okay. So the main difference is that when we dream, we're not usually in control of that situation. Even if it's a lucid dream, we're aware of it, but very few of us can command what we do. Command our dreaming attention is what it's called, where we can go to bed and say, tonight I'm going to dream about this and dream a healing for this. There are some people who practice that way, but it's rare. it's much easier to command our attention when we volitionally and voluntarily induce the shamanic state of consciousness. And so we choose to do that with drumming because it's a lot easier on the body than, say, taking ayahuasca. That's not very easy on the body. Okay, there are other ways to induce those states of consciousness, but it's really hard to go to your government job afterwards. Okay, so we want to be able to function in both worlds, right? So we use the drum. So when we voluntarily and willfully induce this state of consciousness, then it becomes much easier to do it with direction and follow an intent. So similar to your lucid dream state, the shamanic consciousness state is almost identical to that. So yeah, that's just some more stuff to work on, and you'll see that if you decide to watch that video, then I talk a little bit more about that within the video.
Can I ask about the drumming? How long is your drumming piece that you are sending to her?
I think it's available for everybody. Just email me and I can send you the link. It's on the website.
Oh, is it on the website? Okay.
It is on the website, but it might not be easy to find on the website.
Okay.
I think it's about 14 minutes, if I remember correctly. It's either 11 or 14 minutes, the drum track.
Okay.
But yeah, just shoot me an email, Cheryl, so I remember, and then I'll send you the link. I think it's /learn-shamanism might be the page, but that's
Okay,
off the top
thank
of
you.
my head. So
Thank you.
yeah, just send me an email. That's easier. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Anybody have anything else they want to share? No? Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for joining. And yeah, thank you. Hopefully we'll see you all next time. And for those of you who are joining the online fundamentals class at the end of March, I look forward to seeing you guys in a few weeks.